Welcome to Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. In this show, we're not just rewatching, we're going behind the scenes, deep into the anime story, unearthing intrigue, and exploring new theories about the Attack on Titan universe. The majority of each episode is spoiler-free. Then, after a warning, we'll take a few minutes to connect the dots with storylines from future episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, but don't forget, you can join us for the live broadcast Sunday nights on Facebook and watch every episode on YouTube. Links will be in the show notes. With that, let's get into the conversation.
Welcome!
The duo Klinko.
Das Gluten.
Let's go. Welcome to Attack on Titan. No, welcome to Beyond the Basement. That's my second mistake for tonight.
The complete Attack
on Titan podcast, where we take you step by step, theory by theory, through the wonderful, the only, the Attack on Titan series.
In depth. Behind the scenes. Under the scenes. Beside the scenes.
Every scene.
Sometimes we were seeing kids. Sometimes we were not seen by anybody at all.
But now you see us if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, in which case you will now recognize that there's only two of us here tonight. We are short one member. Rachel is not with us. RIP. COVID got her. True salute.
True salute.
To you, Rachel.
To Saga.
That's not true. She is perfectly alive and well. She's just at the beach.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a scheduling conflict, but don't worry. She will be back. Everything is just fine.
If you join our Patreon.
Yes. If you send us your money, then Rachel will come back. So
yeah,
this isn't like
it's not a ransom.
No.
We just
need your money in exchange for someone's life. That's all.
That's it. It's really simple. It's really
very,
easy.
very straightforward. All right, so we're on episode 20, and this one is a banger, as many of them tend to be.
This episode is called Erwin Smith.
Is it really just called Erwin Smith?
Yeah.
I totally missed that part.
So you know it's going to be good because it has anything to do with Erwin.
Yes, who, if you're not already like an Erwin fan, you will be after this. And if after this you're still not convinced, trust me, there's plenty of episodes coming, in which case, where you will become an Erwin Smith fan. So let's do a quick recap. This episode begins with the female Titan. The female Titan has been locked down by Erwin. A trap has cleverly been set. And yet the question remains amongst the troops. Okay, they're starting to figure out, like, oh, well, I think that this trap was the plan all along. And you, the viewer, should be asking that same question. And by this point, you're kind of going, oh, yeah, all right, I'm pretty sure that was the plan. So the scouts are starting to figure that out. They're hearing, explosions. The scouts who are on the outside of the forest right now are hearing explosions on the inside of the forest, and they're all deducing, oh, this must have been the plan all along, is to lure this abnormal Titan out and then to capture it. And as we learned last episode, we're pretty sure that there is somebody inside of this one, that this Titan is in fact similar to Eren, where it's a person who can also shift into a Titan form. So that's the going theory of the scouts right now. They go to take some swords to the Titan that they've caught, and she hardens up. She actually uses her hands are kind of already back there against the nape of her neck. She's protecting it, but she does this like Titan hardening thing. And then Erwin makes the call to use some cannons or some kind of devices to cut off the wrists of this Titan so they can finally peel out whoever it is that is inside. But before they get the chance to, she lets out a roar, a shout, a scream. And it's kind of like a dying breath type of thing. And the scouts are sort of going, oh, what is that? And a bunch of them dumb ones show up en masse. They like literally run straight to her.
Swarm.
And eat her alive. But that's not all, folks. But wait, there's more. Right as that is going on, Erwin gives the command to fend off the Titans, but there's just too many of them. They start to eat her, and then Erwin says, you know what, we're going to retreat. And as they retreat, we see a hooded figure launch some smoke, and we see that same hooded figure kill one of the scouts. Not a Titan, but a scout.
Scumbag.
And then that's the end of the episode. And then we have to find out what happens next time. Cliffhanger. This is another one where I'm like, yeah, you should just watch. I would say last episode, this episode, and the next one, just watch them together.
Yeah, once they kind of get into the forest, like they all run together and it gets really intense and really good and you won't want to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can afford the time, you should. Okay, so let's jump in at the beginning here. Let's start, let's do a little head dive into the very beginning of the episode. So one of the first things that they suggest in this episode is something that we really talked about in previous ones, but now they're saying it. They're saying the quiet part out loud, which is the scouts including Aaron, they kind of show these various conversations, are deducing that this abnormal Titan, this female Titan, seems to be one of like Aaron in that maybe it's a person who has the ability to also transform into a Titan. And then if that's the case, then they also have the ability to de-transform or go back into being a person, which is an incredible ability. And we know Aaron has basically that exact thing. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of control over it, but he certainly has it.
Clearly he doesn't know how to control it, and maybe this one certainly does.
Yeah. And so Aaron is basically the first person we see. He's like kind of deducing that in his head, and we're getting the like classic anime like hearing someone's thoughts type of moment. And he's like, "Oh," and they're like, "Oh, no, stop thinking. We have to get you out of the way, and congratulations, we've caught her. Like it all worked out. This must have been the plan all along, basically." And so Erwin gives the order to fire some extra hooks. We saw in the last episode it ended with those like cannon things. It turns out these weren't supplies. The supply wagons, the only supplies they had were ropes and harpoons.
That's the kind of supplies I like to bring with me on any camping trip. Let me tell you.
When I go out camping, go to the grocery store, bro.
That's right. Bring your ropes. Bring your grappling hooks. What are you, Batman?
Hide your ropes. Hide your grappling hooks, because they captured every Titan up in here. So then we get this cut to some of the scouts. So remember, the whole deal here has been that the scouts have arrived at the forest, which was not a part of the original plan. Everybody else thought that there was something else going on.
We think the plan went sideways somewhere at some point.
And so they arrive at the edge of the forest, and the majority of them have been left at the outskirts of this forest to kind of keep the dumb Titans, as they're basically there as bait. They're up in these trees.
Just keep them at bay.
Keep them at bay. Keep them out of the center of the forest. And then we find out that, in the center of the forest is Aaron. It's the supply wagons. The female Titan runs in there. All this jazz goes down. So in this episode, we cut back out to the scouts who've been left on the outside of the forest, and they are all doing their own little deductions. We've got Mikasa and Sasha, and it's like kind of by way of reminder, like, hey, these are all still main characters.
Yeah,
we need to give you a little cut so you see them and go, okay.
Here's what everyone was thinking when all of a sudden a lot of explosions started happening in the background.
Yeah, so they hear the stuff going on in the forest, and we cut to most of them, and they're like, we cut to Krista, I think is the first one, and she actually sees the Titans are starting to climb the trees. And then they hear the explosions, and they're like, "Oh no! Like what the heck? What's going on here?" There's a couple other there's one little dialogue part in here that I'm going to save for the spoilers that I don't want to get too far into. But what I want to mention here is that this part where they cut away to the soldiers, it's not just a reminder that they're there. This is good storytelling. When you get a story that is like a deep, what is it? Murder on the Orient Express? Is that the title of it? Am I saying it right?
Yeah,
dude?
that's good.
Yeah. When you get a whodunit, which that's what I would call this episode, is a bit of a whodunit. You realize by the end of this episode, this whole thing is a whodunit. Like, wait, there's someone in our midst.
The name of your donut shop?
What? Murder on the Donut?
Whodunit?
Whodunit? I don't know, but that's a great name.
Okay, sorry.
It's a sign. Guys, I've been talking about opening a donut shop for a long time.
It's really important. Leave us your comments about that. But
how much
good whodunit? Sorry to get you off topic.
Wait. Because people are starting to watch the YouTube channel a little bit. I don't care if you're watching this 5 years in the future, 10 years in the future. Drop me in the comments your best name for a donut shop. I just want to know.
Winner will get something in 2,000 years. That'll be worth a lot. You
will get something, including Attack on Titan merch and probably donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
There you go.
We need to give you a mic. Can I just also take this moment to give props to my beautiful wife, who kind of functions as our amateur producer. I cannot be in two places at once, but she does a great job. She's become technically proficient, and we need to give you a mic because you say helpful things pretty often, actually.
Great job.
They do it on the Crowder show. They cut to the guy with the controls and stuff. He gives input.
Good job.
Anyway.
What's our comment say?
We have a comment? Oh, live comment. Rachel, who is watching live right now, is commenting saying she'll be our donut chief, and we love you for it, Rach.
Thanks. So on any good
also, you need to help me bake them.
whodunit story.
Any good whodunit story, what they do is a good author will not leave everything up to you to solve, because they're doing two things at once, which they do in this episode. They show you these characters. They show you the scouts who are on the outside of the forest who don't have all the information, but they're starting to figure it out. And Armin is one of those characters who functions like this kind of throughout the show. In part, we get to see a cool character who is clever and extremely smart, and he can figure stuff out. He's got this power of deduction and critical thinking and reasoning.
You just see his wheels turning like nonstop. And at any time, if I was in Armin's like little regiment thing, something would happen. I'd be like,
"What do you think?
Hey, what did you just think about that, Armin? Is we okay? Do I need to run?"
He's the kid. You cheat off his tests in school.
That's right.
Because he's like pretty much always on it. But he also functions. He serves a purpose. So if you're the author, say his name again, you know his name. I can't ever say it right.
Isayama.
Hajime
Isayama.
Yeah. If you're him, you're writing this character in to be an interesting character, but also to serve the function of being a voice to your readers to kind of help you reason along with the story itself. So you're starting to figure stuff out. We, the audience, are starting to figure stuff out along with the characters. And we kind of said at the beginning of this episode, if you've been paying attention, you kind of know that there's a whodunit going on here. But in case you missed it, which the first time through this, I missed a lot.
There's a lot to miss. There's a lot hidden. There's a lot well painted in the background. And then you realize, wait a second, that's the background. That is the main story. He's just cleverly hidden it here. And so the main tip that we got was when Erwin came up, grabbed Eren, and after Asani and Bean were mysteriously killed, and he said, "What do you think the enemy is?"
Yeah.
You're like,
that's a breadcrumb.
A laser? A machine? I don't know. A robot? I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Right. And even that, like, I missed a lot of the breadcrumbs. In part because honestly, I was so busy theorizing about where the Titans came from and like who was responsible if someone would like.
I was pulling an Armin, but like just any theory. I was
I was like way ahead of him. I was like, there's like another realm or something.
Yeah,
or the military technology. Like,
what if bunnies turn into Titans at night and they run off because they want the carrots?
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. So I'm trying to draw attention to what they're saying here. Again, I'll bring up more in the spoiler section about just the little short dialogue pieces we get here among the scouts. But part of the reason we're getting this is because this is good storytelling and because this is drawing you into the mystery and also giving you clues if you haven't kind of cued in already. This is the characters doing some of the reasoning for you, and they are saying, oh, there's explosions going on in the forest. Maybe this was the plan all along. And we actually do eventually get to Armin. He actually, I don't think I wrote down his exact quote, but we do get to Armin and Jean, and they're kind of doing their reasoning, and they're saying, I think this was the plan all along. And not only do I think was it the plan all along to capture an abnormal, but rather that it was the plan all along to capture somebody who's a scout, who's an abnormal. So there's a
spy,
a traitor in our midst.
Within our regiment, they say. And they're kind of all working out at the same time. Why wouldn't, Eren says to his fellow Titan killer troop, why wouldn't you guys have known about it? You guys are way more advanced than me. How come Erwin didn't even trust you guys? And they're like, are you saying Erwin doesn't trust us? And like, yeah, kind of. I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying, but not in an offensive way. But why wouldn't he have told you guys? I understand not telling me because you guys don't trust me yet, but he's been serving with you guys for years now. And they kind of reason out, there's a spy in the regiment. Well, does that mean he doesn't trust anybody around him? And they kind of figure out, they do the math, and they say, well, it must have been he only told the people who were with him
for more than 5 years.
5 years. Why? Yeah. What happened 5 years ago?
That's when the walls got broken. That's when that first attack was. Now, whether or not their reasoning is correct is actually up for debate, because I will throw this out there that there can be a false flag moment in this show. I think they're out there. I'm not saying this whether or not this one is. I'm just saying beware that something that a character reasons in the show and you hear the reasoning isn't always, it's not always leading you in the right direction. Sometimes sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's like a misdirection.
Yeah, it's a red herring.
Right.
But I think this is, like you're saying, this is really good storytelling because there's a main thing happening. As readers, as viewers, we're like, oh, the main thing, the female Titan, she's stuck inside. We want to feel what's going on. And then all of a sudden it zooms us back out in real time. And it's like if Eric and I are just, mowing our lawns, hey, what's going on, man? And cannons are going off.
Yeah.
We're not just like, yeah, anyway, my day was pretty good. No, we're like, what is that sound?
Yeah, what could this mean?
Should we do? And so he takes us into our motivation, and it takes us into what were Eric and Peter thinking when cannons were going off in the background. What was Mikasa thinking? What was Armin thinking? What was your viewpoint? And as an actor, like, you die for this kind of thing. You're like, what's my motivation? What was I thinking when this main event happened? And a lot of times directors are like, I don't know, make it up. And so you've got actors now trying to write their own character elements, backstories of why they're, because if you don't have one, you have to write one, right? But if you write one, it may not always go well with the script. But if the one person writes it all together, he weaves a masterful blanket, it all looks beautiful, it all goes together, and it keeps your tootsies warm at night.
This is an interesting tangent that I actually want to go on for a second. I think this is worth talking about. So one of the reasons we love the show is because we tend to agree there's an element of storytelling going on here that is almost more characteristic of a deep novel of movies and entertainment of the past that had a little bit more thought put into it than maybe the stuff that we get today. And so something you're hitting on there is that there's, for this series, if you don't know, if you're kind of jumping in the middle of this podcast, we have hit on this before, but the creator of this series wrote the whole thing essentially start to finish before publishing any of it, the manga, the show, any of it, which means that instead of like a normal TV show, which is they write like a season or a normal book series or something like that, or a movie, they write the first movie or maybe two.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, well, this is really successful. Give me another one.
Yeah. And you're like, I never really pictured that as a two-parter.
Yeah,
I guess I could come up with something.
But come up with something, and then you kind of have to invent the details that carry on. And so it's not one large cohesive story. But that's not what happens when you read something like a novel, for instance, okay? And when you read a novel, you are getting something that was poured over and written as an entire work. Even when reading a series of novels, it's actually uncommon. It's the opposite. It's uncommon for a book series to not have like an end in mind, a specific end in mind before the series is written. So you
should.
And so that's one of the reasons I think that a lot of times the best movies are ones that are based on novels, right? Jurassic Park is an all-time favorite of mine. Why can't I see the author's name right now? He's a super famous sci-fi.
Oh yeah.
It'll come to me later when we're talking, but Lord of the Rings would be a great example of a deep story that could only be told you can only plant the breadcrumbs in that story because it's already finished. It's already done. It's already been
Tolkien is at war crafting this lore in his head and writing this elven language and creating, okay, here's where these guys came from and here's the orcs' motivation. Here's why the elves do this. And this character was friends with this character when this event happened, and tying up all the contingencies.
Chronology, yeah.
Right? And something you'll see in sitcoms is because they have to make a new one every single week. There's so many, what do they call them? It's not contingencies. It's where the story is not correlated correctly. I forget what it's called. They have this thing where there's plot holes that
on purpose.
No, they're just lazy writers, and they don't keep a track of all the things that they've written because they had to get.
You're saying plot holes in like typical shows and things like that.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, actually it was Ross's birthday 12 times in Friends, and they say he's still like 36, something like that.
Right. He should be like in his 50s or something.
Yeah, or they say, well, Joey has a deathly fear of spiders, and then later on he's like dealing with spiders. It's because no one cared enough to write all these things down and had this big chart that said, okay, well, this person does this, and we already know this person's sister is this person, and then you got to recast, and the story just doesn't feel cohesive. It doesn't feel like it respects the investment,
the time,
of the watcher, and it kind of insults our integrity.
I will give some leeway to comedies.
Yeah,
something like Friends or like The Office or something.
That's important.
I follow an Office parody account where they actually point out the inconsistencies. They're like, oh, in this season, Pam says she can't play volleyball, but she's actually on the team here or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So that definitely, there's less of that, but it's especially in a case where you have somebody who writes out, which Attack on Titan is. I mean, it's not a novel. It's manga, right? It's graphic novels, but it is a written story. And when you're writing something down, it depends on how the author works, but they tend to, a lot of great authors, not the only way to work, but they'll write down a framework and then work their way along the framework and the storyboard. So that way you can connect all the dots. In fact, lots of famous thriller and mystery writers, what they'll do is they'll actually write the end scene first. They'll kind of come up with their world, come up with their characters, and then sort of write the big finale first, and then that way they can write backwards, and they can drop little hints as to what's coming all along the way.
Yep.
So Attack on Titan very much works that way. I mean, to like an intense, I would say beyond a lot of novels.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he had the beginning and the concept, found the end point, he worked backwards, wrote each season, then went back and tied in, character development and all these
Dropped
things.
little things.
And
Yeah.
It also wouldn't surprise me if when season 4 drops, the manga drops, everything wraps up, if in a year or two we don't see an Attack on Titan novel where he just tells about somebody else's perspective in the forest or when all this was happening.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. It's like I would totally watch another or read another Attack on Titan series. It was all told even if it was the exact same story, but was just told from Jean's perspective. Because I really dig that character.
Or Sasha,
right.
I want to know how many sandwiches she snuck in the middle of the attack on
hers
Drost,
is the comedy version of the whole of the whole series.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's obviously something we love about Attack on Titan, and the reason I bring that up is because, again, to our first timers, and even if you're not a first timer, you're coming back through the series again, which is very likely. When you look at the series that way, you got a lot of respect for the story, and for me, it creates a lot of respect for the storyteller and a lot of intrigue, and I don't know, increases my personal investment because I'm like, oh, wow, like this isn't just a cool thing that I watch sometimes. It's actually almost like a work of art, which is more enjoyable.
I was going to say, an artist, you can tell when every stroke is deliberate, every movement they make is on purpose. Other people go out there and like, let's just see what happens. And that can be enjoyable too, but I feel like an artist, everything they do is with intention. And when you see a story unfolding, just really respects the integrity of the readers and the watchers and the viewers. And I'm like, this is making me smarter, making me think, and I really appreciate it.
So one last little detail before we move too far into the episode here, I want to call out is that while we're getting a glimpse of the soldiers doing their reasoning and figuring out and kind of informing us, the audience, about what's been going on in the story, one of the things that I think is Armin points this out is that as they're climbing the trees, he actually says, this means that they can learn.
They can learn.
What the heck?
That is freaky because I've got a contingency with a couple buddies that as soon as we hear that there's a zombie apocalypse broken out, we ask 2 questions. Okay. 1, are they fast?
That makes a big difference.
2, are they smart?
Even bigger difference.
Because if they're fast, you can still fight them, but it's going to be so hard.
Well, you got to have defenses. You got to be in a car.
It's going to be so hard.
Account for that.
If they're smart, if they can learn, if they're not just mindless zombies coming at you, you can't fight 1,000 really smart people trying to murder you. They're going to find you at some point. And so at that point, you just get the old double barrel and you just
end it right there.
Because if they're fast or if they're smart, man, if they can learn, right? Now, these dumb Titans definitely don't seem that smart.
They don't.
The guy's trying to climb a tree. And
definitely driven by instinct there. They're very animalistic in that way.
But it is scary that they possibly have some sort of intellect going on and they can learn to some extent because they're learning to climb trees. And you're like, can the raptors open the doors? What are they going to do?
Exactly. Jurassic Park. There it is. Michael Crichton, by the way. I told you I would remember the name. Michael Crichton is the author.
Well done.
I did not Google it. I actually just remembered it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
they realize this is the goal from the start of the whole operation.
Yes.
This is an accident.
And that the people who have been told, this is where we kind of left off here in terms of the story, was the only people who they are deducing that probably the only people who knew about this and the whole regiment that just went out on this mission were the people who've been around for longer than 5 years, which, keep in mind, being a scout's dangerous business. So there's not many people who make it past that mark.
But it's like the dude, it's the nose guy. I forget what his name is right now. The guy who can smell everybody. It's Levi,
Eld,
of course. No, Eld's the other guy, I thought.
Oh, I don't know that. I can't remember. Yeah.
No.
You wait, no.
That's not that guy.
Eld's the blonde guy,
Eld's the blonde guy. He's got the cool man bun.
The tongue biter guy. Off. What's his name?
I don't know. Idiot guy.
Wait, is Paul saying it? Or is Rachel saying it? I don't know.
Yeah. Double barrel with exactly. Infinite ammo. Okay. Yeah. So it's like Hanjay. It's like all the people that you are the most badass are the only people who know because they've, in order to stick around with the scouts, you got to be a serious boss.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we get in this series of it, and it's cutting back and forth between the soldiers on the outside of the trees and then back to Aaron and the little scout squad that's there. One of the other things that they're reasoning about is, is this person... So we assume it's a person, right? We assume now that there is a Titan Shifter. The Titan Shifter is in the midst. Like this, they are a scout, or at least they must be a scout because there's only scouts out here now.
Yeah, and remember, only a scout would have known what they call Aaron.
Right.
That was revealed earlier.
Yeah, right. Armin was kind of reasoning that not only is it a scout, it's a scout who knows Aaron, who knows what he looks like, and knows his nickname.
Yes.
So this is now reducing the number of people. So here's the whodunit
and
part.
it's somebody we know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because everybody who's seen Aaron and who knows the nickname and who's there.
And then they throw this one out there. Could this have been the same person that killed Sonny and Bean, which were the two Titans, if you'll remember, that Hanji and they captured when they retook Trost, and Hanji had them set aside for experimenting. She'd actually done some experiments on them, and then they just showed up dead one time. Yeah. And then they had this investigation, turned up nothing, or so we think turned up nothing.
But it makes you think, what was so important? What could we have found out about the truth behind the world, as Aaron says it? And this is what we're going to find out now. So everything they did, everything at the courtroom, everything in the faking the new operation, everything about the formation, it was all a setup to get to this point, to capture the Titan Shifter. Why? Because we want some freaking answers.
Yeah.
We're going to get the truth. And if we can figure out the truth behind this world, it'll all be worth it.
And this is where it begins to speak, this episode specifically, to Erwin's genius. Because he set this whole thing up. I mean, it's been... Where the courtroom episode is where they first revealed that Erwin has a secret plan that he can't even tell his higher ups. He has to be like, okay, just trust me, basically. That was so many episodes ago, it feels like, and this has been in the works the whole time. This elaborate thing, and so we cut to this scene I want to touch on really quick between Jean and Armin, and they're talking, and Jean actually says, well, looks like he made the wrong call. Basically, he actually says about Erwin specifically, like, I don't think the commander made the right call here because, like, look at all the people who died. What if they had known that this Titan was a smart one?
They wouldn't have engaged, which is something we were saying earlier. Is like, man,
saved lives.
Don't engage. And Armin was trying to tell people, don't fight her. Just,
right.
Let's see what happens. But instead, we're thinking, hey, do our duty. We're supposed to stop Titans from attacking the main frame.
Right.
We're going to jump in there, and then she mercilessly kills. And here... John's reflecting on the fact that Erwin's call got a lot of people killed.
Yeah, which is true. And Jean's pointing that out and saying, well, like,
he made the wrong call.
He made the wrong call, at least, or at the very least, there's something wrong with the plan.
Yeah.
And Armin hits him back and says, no, actually, I think he made, with hindsight, like, you can look at it both ways, but I actually think he made the right call because Armin's doing, again, he's our character. He's kind of doing a lot of the deducing for us.
Deduction.
The deduction. He actually understands that, and he says this line, he says, there will come a time for a leader, there will come a time where you might have to choose between the lives of 100 comrades and the lives of everyone inside the walls.
Yeah.
And I love this because I've been listening to this podcast on the Cold War. I'm finally kind of back into that one, the Bill Whittle one.
Yeah.
And he talks about this exact thing. And it's like, there is, in life and in war and in history, this has come up many, many times. Sacrifice a few for the many.
Yeah.
And sometimes the few for the many, sometimes you are the few. Sometimes it's, I'm going to lay my life down so that this family or, us as a few troops, we agree to make a noble sacrifice in order to save some number of innocent people.
It's the Battle of Thermopylae. It's the 300 Spartans.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that is a totally different moral calculation than being in the general's office. And I actually brought up an example. I'm going to bring this up again. Being in the general's office, and you have to make the call between this 100 people. You are going to, on their behalf, voluntarily sacrifice, in this case, 100 comrades, 100 scouts, on behalf of, however many hundred thousands or millions live inside the walls. How do you sleep at night? It is, and Armin's right. I think Armin's right. That is the right call.
Yeah. Because even Aaron was second guessing. He was saying, wait a second, if all of these people died to get to here, we'll finally find the truth, but was it worth all the lives?
Yeah.
And here's where we flash back to Gene thinking the same thing. This wasn't the right call because so many people have died. But it's like, Armin says, in hindsight, it's easy to look back and say, this was the right thing, this was the wrong thing. And this is like a really true statement looking at our current timeline.
Yeah, the coronavirus thing.
It's easy to look back and say, oh, we should have done this. Oh, we should have done this. It's like,
but we didn't know.
Nobody knew, right? Yeah, and
nobody did.
All of the sacrifices that have been made, they've been terrible. They've been harsh. We've known people that have lost their jobs, people that have lost their livelihoods, people that have been furloughed, people that have, had a really rough go of it. I don't know anybody who's lost their lives yet, luckily, but I know of people.
Right.
But all of those sacrifices, have been made so that hopefully more people didn't die. Hopefully more jobs won't be lost. Hopefully our country won't implode. And it's terrible to think about, but the needs of the few, don't outweigh the needs of the many. We have to sacrifice people. And this goes back to one of the themes of the show where we talk about the value of life. Human life is intrinsically valuable. All of us are very important, but we got to hold that value in the balance of, if you value people too much, you're never willing to sacrifice anybody, which means you're not willing to make the calls like this to be able to
Which means
save.
you accidentally sacrifice everyone, right? You might actually make the wrong call. You might actually end up with more death because you weren't willing to sacrifice.
And if you don't value people's lives at all, you just throw people's bodies at the machine.
Then you're just Stalin.
then you're Stalin, then you guys that just absolutely sacrifice the majority of people. No one will follow you. Therefore, you won't have any control either. More people will die that way as well. So you have to have this perfect balance of leadership, wisdom, and then the gut to be able to make the call.
Which is to get back to our that's
Erwin.
Smith. That's Erwin. Like that's what he's doing right here. He's making that calculation, and Armin is understanding him making the calculation. Which, when we get to the spoilers, I'm gonna hit on this, but don't let me forget Armin Erwin connection.
Okay, he says the love of 100 or everyone behind the walls. He chose the 100. Erwin Smith is humanity's hope.
Yeah, and then it cuts. So right after this exchange between John and Armin, and then it cuts to Aaron, and it's Aaron with the scouts who've been under Levi and who've been under Erwin for a long time. Yeah. And that's when they drop the line. They say, soon, they're saying this to Aaron, they're saying, soon you will learn why Erwin is in charge.
Yeah, he's
why he's the leader. Yeah, he's humanity's hope. And then we cut back to Armin, and he drops another line. He says, if someone is capable of bringing about change, that someone is somebody who can give up what matters most. He says, people who are capable of abandoning their humanity when forced to rise above monsters. Those who can't abandon anything can't change anything. And so Armin is eloquently saying all of what we just were discussing. He drops it just in a few lines there. He's saying that there is something to be said, somebody who has to sort of rise above a primal sort of self-survival calculation and go, somebody who has the moral capability, but more than that, the leadership capability to say, no, we have to make this sacrifice. We're making the short term, sacrificing lives, and to look ahead to the long term. And
it's Normandy. It's how many American boys do I have to lay down
to save all of Europe and the West? Yeah,
tell their mothers they're never going to come home. But do we say that their life was meaningful and their sacrifice meant something? And here, what we're hoping is, all of the rear regiment who've died at the hands of this female Titan, was their sacrifice meaningful? Are we going to actually find out the truth about this world? Yeah.
And so his last line is what you were hitting on earlier. Those who can't abandon anything can't change anything, which is what you're saying. The value of human life. Like, if you're like, no, every life, if we can just save one life, well, then we wouldn't drive cars, right? If we can just save one life, that's different than...
Everybody would walk around in giant bubbles if we could just save one life. No.
Only, always, ever.
There's a balance between liberty and freedom.
Right. But then the thing is, if you're like, oh, if we can only save one life, well, no one drives cars. Okay, well, then we don't produce as much, and then people die of starvation. Like, there's always down the line consequences to overly being safe, and there's always down the line consequences to being not safe enough, obviously.
Yeah.
So, trying to move along a little bit in the episode here. So
they say that...
the hooks.
Yeah, Erwin shot all of these hooks, all of these cannons.
Specifically designed for this moment, by the way. Mm-hmm. They didn't exist previously.
And Hanji, I think, says, like, how do you like that? You can't move a single muscle. Mm-hmm. And then we see her, the Titan, like, kind of healing. And she says, as you heal...
They get stiffer.
They're getting stiffer and stiffer and stiffer, right? So the flesh is healing around these hooks that have been specially designed to go in, and they're sinking deeper and deeper and deeper. So they've actually thought about Titan healing ability and about the fact that they want to at some point capture Titans.
Yeah, just the fact that they're going in not for a kill but for a capture, because they're and we learned this in this episode. We're like, hey, we're trying to find out who's in there, and Levi tells us a little bit later we're actually trying to find not just who it is, but what kind of information do they have.
We want that information.
This is not just this shifter, whoever this is not just a threat, but they're like a violent threat. They're a spy.
Yeah,
right.
And hypothetically they've already caused major damage and major casualties,
especially if they killed Sonny and Bean.
Hundreds of thousands of lives, because if this person is responsible for the breach in the wall, if this person is responsible for other people being killed, how many people were they responsible for? Right? Think about the cull that happened. Was that 30,000 lives?
Well, the initial one was the 250,000 that they sent out. Remember, because they couldn't feed everybody.
Right.
It was like 250,000. It was some crazy number.
So this person who's in this Titan hypothetically is responsible for indirectly for that many lives being lost. So we need to look back and we need to say, hey, we got information. And we said before, information is key when it comes to warfare, right? We've said soldiers, if you could take any gun back into the war, take a machine gun back to World War I or Civil War, and just mow dudes down, what would you take? And they said, I'll take a walkie-talkie. Yeah, because I could save more lives, that I could do more damage with just communication, right? The Enigma machine, so much was lives were lost to be able to get that code. And then even back to Attack on Titan, the very first episode, so many Titan lives were lost to provide valuable information. Star Wars, many Bothans gave their lives to secure these plans.
They create an entire movie based on that.
Yeah, so information is key. And so if they can, A, capture Titan, but B, capture a Titan shifter, an abnormal Titan shifter, get the person out of there and get some freaking answers, beat the piss out of them.
That's some gold right there.
That is worth every sacrifice, because then maybe we can end this war. Maybe we can win this war. Maybe we can provide hope for humanity.
Well, maybe we can discover what the war is in the first place. Because
why? Yeah.
Exactly. That's kind of been the journey so far. It's like, there's these Titans out there generally, like, because before the walls were breached, keep in mind, before the walls were breached, there was a threat anyway. And then the walls were breached by what we now know to be some breed of Titan transformer that is now in our midst. Like, the plot thickens quite a bit. Like, so what is the enemy? Which is a question Erwin asks Aaron. They actually bring it up in this episode again. But what is the enemy is the right question. Yeah. Because we're not actually even sure, even at this point. So then they go in to try and, speaking of getting information, this is where Levi actually descends to try and
cut her out. Maybe.
Yeah, let's cut out the person inside of the Titan, and she's got her hands on the nape of the neck. And right as they go in to make the cut, the hands turn into some kind of like maybe crystal or glass or something that is really hard, and they break the blades. And they go, well, that's interesting. Yeah, like. And I title this for the Facebook episode. I always give it like a slightly different title than what the actual title is, just to be funny. I titled this one "Clever Girl." Yeah, again, so many Jurassic Park references, but that's what in Jurassic Park, like the raptors, like are outsmarting the dudes. Yeah, she's clever.
So they break the blades on the Harden, and Erwin says, "Oh, this may be kind of like the armor Titan I've heard about, where she can harden parts of her body to be able to stop blows." So she's got several tricks up her sleeve so far to be able to stop her. First we thought, she could just put the hands over the neck. We'll just cut off her fingers. Oh, we can't cut off her fingers. Yeah. Okay, the next thing we're gonna try to do,
we're gonna blow off her freaking hands.
We'll blow off your
right
wrists.
At the wrist.
Yeah, we'll do anything we can get. And they keep mentioning this, and I'm not sure exactly why it's not revealed in this episode, but they said we don't have much time. We have to go. We have to quick. Let's get ready. And I'm wondering if Erwin is worried about...
what's the urgency? Other than there are Titans around.
There are Titans around, and they are outside of, a general walled area, so they're not necessarily safe.
They're not.
But Levi is perched on top of the female Titan's head.
This is this is
kicking her in the skull. He's like...
Do you think you're just going to get away now? And then he brings up something I brought up in the previous episodes, like, was it fun killing them?
Psychological warfare. You friggin' scumbag. Do you feel any remorse for what you did?
And like, it's an actual good point, because Levi's just like doing the same reasoning I was doing. Is like, you monster. We know you're you're not a dumb Titan. You didn't eat any of the people you killed.
You're not going on instinct. You wanted to do this.
You did it on purpose.
Did you have fun? Did you enjoy it? Because guess what? We're going to have fun right now.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I'm having fun right now. It's like, it's like you have the prisoner. It's the scene in like well, like any movie where they're the prisoner and they're doing like the psychological warfare, like torturing or whatever.
Yeah.
They do a ton of this. This is super random. No one has watched this show except for people who watched it. Burn Notice.
Very specific.
Burn Notice has a bunch of episodes where there's like people in captivity and people in prison, and like he's like an ex-CIA guy, and they do this kind of like mental game a ton in that show. Anyway.
Yeah. So I hate this because I feel like you're always showing your hand whenever you monologue to your enemy captured.
It's so true.
I'm not saying if I capture somebody. No, I'm not saying. I'm sorry. If I capture you, bro, I'm not saying. You better hope you're not capturing me. I'm not saying nothing. I'm not telling you my grand plans. It's gonna be pain. It's gonna be quick, and it's gonna be over. We should probably not put that on air. Sorry about that.
What?
I don't have a shovel or a bag of lime.
Oh yeah,
but,
totally not. Zero.
Listen, he says something important. Will you be okay if we cut off your limbs? I'm not talking about your Titan limbs. I'm talking about your arms.
Your real ones.
I'm gonna cut off your real ones
because we know you're in there.
Because we know you're in there. He'll grow back, right?
You don't have to come and confess.
We looking for you.
Yeah, we looking for you. We're going to find you.
Yeah. So it was at that moment that female Titan doesn't like the cut of his jib and begins to let out this wail, this scream that like sets like shockwaves
It's like
off.
Wind happening.
Yeah, and everyone's like, was that the throes of death? Like, what?
Yeah, what is this about?
Mad?
And then, so Levi actually says, oh, you startled me with that one. And then we get Smelly Guy.
Smelly Guy.
Can't remember his name.
Smelly Guy. Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Dude who sniffs Aaron.
He's been with Levi for a long time.
He's an elite scout.
He's an elite scout. I forget what his name. I think Eld is the blonde guy. So I don't think it's Eld who's the smelly guy.
I think this is Miche or M-I-C-H-E.
Mikael?
Mike or something. However they say his name.
Yeah, Mikael. I think you're right. We'll get back to you on that one. But he says, Captain, I smell them. And
coming from all directions.
Where are they coming from? All directions. Lots of them. And we see all the dumb Titans are rushing in. They no longer care about the scouts up in the trees. They're rushing in. And you're like, oh, man, she called for reinforcements? This is mind games? What is this? Queen bee who can control hive mind?
Mm-hmm. And then we get that cut of Sasha, where I actually love this because Sasha's one of my kind of favorite side characters. And she goes, oh my gosh, I've heard that sound before, which actually freaked me out because I was like, wait, you've literally heard this exact sound before?
Yeah,
and she
goes, where were you on the night of the wall break-in?
Yeah, I was like, Sasha, what are you going to tell us? She says, I've heard this sound before. It's the sound that an animal makes when it's dying. And she's
cornered.
Yeah, when they're cornered. And she says that I've been taught that the end of a hunt is where you have to be the most careful. She's saying this to Mikasa right now.
Yeah, because you let down your guard, you get cocky.
Mm-hmm, and keep this in mind. She's saying this line to Mikasa. Just bear that in mind for the next episode. It's not a spoiler, but just remember.
Mikasa's like, oh, you think I should be careful? And
she's like, yeah, be 1,000 more times.
100 times
100 times more careful.
And Mikasa's like, yeah, Sasha's usually right about these kind of things. I'm like, why
her
would you
hunches
say it like that?
Yeah,
of course.
But she says Sasha's hunches are usually right, which is actually true even just this early on in the show. Sasha has hunches.
She's got like
or feeling
discernment, like spec plus 10 or something.
She's an odd duck, but what she's sensing is actually correct. And she's like, and she usually senses these things before something bad is about to happen. So
all these Titans run in, they rush in, and Erwin gives command, defend the female Titan, which is like, man, I don't want to have to defend somebody who killed all my friends.
Right.
I don't want to do that. And they start to slash the Titans that are coming in. They realize
they're coming in by like the droves.
But they're coming in not to fight off the Titans. They're coming in to eat the female Titan.
Yeah. So that's the first camp is that little one who comes up, bites the leg. And
yeah. And you're like, bro, you called all these people just to eat you, just so we wouldn't get you. Mm-hmm. That's smart, but dang, I hate you. I hate you for that. So
he pretty quickly, Erwin gives the command to say, okay, withdraw. And this is where he actually says a line. So earlier we got Armin saying somebody who's a good leader, like what we need is somebody who's willing to make, willing to abandon something, basically willing to make like a sacrifice at some level.
You could affect change if you're willing to lay something down.
Mm-hmm. And Erwin, having not heard that conversation, this is just the author tying things in for us. Erwin actually says like, wow, they're willing to make a sacrifice. Whoever this is willing. Our enemy, he actually calls him the enemy generally. I'm trying to find it here. This means the enemy is willing to throw away everything. And
he has like almost like this smirk on his face, like They're serious.
She resorted to cannibalism, to Titan cannibalism, to dispose of information.
To destroy the evidence at any cost.
So we're not talking about not only is this an intelligent Titan, not only is this probably a person, this is a person who's actually got skills,
crafty strategy,
all kinds of stuff going on here. And Erwin gives a command to retreat. He shoots up the
blue smoke.
I think this is where they do the blue smoke.
Yeah,
maybe not quite yet, but somewhere around in here. And he's like, we need to return without further losses. And Levi's like, man, remember when we went through in the courtroom and all that stuff to get Eren out here? Like,
it's
now what? And he's like, we'll worry about that when we get home. But we gotta roll. Cause
and they make a important inference right here, as all these Titans are just
chomping away, just having lunch,
scavenging right now on meat's back on the menu, boys. You know, that there's tons of steam coming up because when Titans are healing or when they get killed, there's tons of steam, and the steam limits the visibility. You can't see anything.
Yeah, he says steam is impacting our visibility right now. It could hinder our smoke signals. We have to leave.
Yep. Then they go back to Erwin and Erwin and Levi say, okay, let's get back. Levi, I want you to reload your canisters, get your blades.
Yep. And he's like, I've got more than enough, bro. Like, I know I'm good. And he's like, do it
anyways.
It's an order.
Fall in order. And then, again, we go back to the good leadership. Levi trusts Erwin, and he says, I'll trust your judgment. I'll do what you ask, even though if it doesn't make sense, even if I don't see it happening. Because guess what? Erwin apparently has pulled this a bunch of times where, hey, I'm not going to tell you what's happening. I've got a grand scheme. Trust me, right?
Or even just an instinct for battle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think this is how it's going to work. I was listening to, again, the Bill Whittle, the podcast or whatever, and he was talking about the Korean War, and he gives this example where General MacArthur, so in Korea War happens, the North Koreans invade South Korea, and they take over basically the whole freaking peninsula. And U.S. finally joins the battle, and they expect them to land on this island that's south of Korea, and then push up from the south to the north, since they started the battle with coming from the north to the south. And then MacArthur's like, nah, we're not doing that. And he actually takes the Navy around to North Korea and pushes from the opposite direction. It's this like military kind of brilliant moment or whatever. He's like, we have a Navy. We're going to land all of our troops up here because they push so far south that they're spread thin, and B, like,
Genius.
they're all down there. And
Genius.
we're going to just come up here and we're going to just cut them off at the knees. And so it works. And it's this incredible, like, whoa. Like, not only was it obviously a good military decision, good strategy, but this is a plan that was kind of based on, like, I've been in war before, because MacArthur had been through World War II. I've done this before. Trust me, guys. And he did. He had to kind of he was a bombastic guy, but he had to kind of like sell his points to Eisenhower, I think is who he's serving under at the time. He had to like sell each of his plans every time and be like, okay, no, this is the reason this is going to work. He had to like give a little bit of like whatever, but certainly for his troops and stuff, they had to learn, and they certainly understood like, okay, well, there's a master plan going on here. And even if it's not a fully calculated, it's coming from somebody who has good instincts, which is what Erwin is. He's somebody who's like, I've done this before.
Yeah.
If not this exact thing, something similar. So just let's roll with it.
And clearly Levi's like, I recognize that in you, and I trust you, and we've got the equity in our relationship to be like, all right, you tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it. And at first, it kind of seems like it's like, you know, your mom being like, go pack your lunch, but Mom, I already did. No, go pack it. You know, okay, you know, but like, okay, he trusts him. There's a friendship there. There's a trust built because of Erwin's constant proving himself for the last 3 to 4 years, and so they decide, okay, so you see the next scene, see everybody getting more blades, getting their gas powered up just in case, to be safe. And then we move to Eren and his group, and they're kind of getting their blades, they're getting the gas powered up, and they're like, wow, I guess it's over now. Guess we can all head home. It kind of jumps around the outside of the forest. Everyone's like, guess we can head home now. Okay, that was weird. I don't know what happened in there. And Eren says, wow, it's over. Okay, now we can head home. And the idiot guy, the guy who's always trying to act like...
yeah, he's like, oh, I knew it all along.
yeah, that guy. He's always trying to act like he's cool, like he's always biting his tongue. But he says actually something that is profound. And he says, you rookies, you should know that an operation isn't over until you're back home. And that, I feel like, is something that is actually...
He's right. He is right.
He is right. He finally had a stroke of genius. He actually said something that was true, and even a broken clock can be right twice a day. But he says something that I feel like that resonates with a lot of military guys who, when you're going to go do a tour, when you're going to go over into overseas, maybe your time could be done and you're getting ready to ship out. But guess what? You're not home till you're home.
It's most dangerous at the end of the hunt.
Anything could happen. And so we see them pack it up. Everyone's getting ready to go home. They're all zipping through the forest, going to their horses. It's all a great time.
Yeah, and then we get this mysterious hooded figure who shoots at green smoke.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, it must be Captain Levi. Green smoke. I'll shoot our green smoke to show him where we are. Not a great idea.
Not a particularly great idea, as we find out. So let's see here. So this next scene is one of those ones where we're cutting between hooded person, mysterious person, and Erwin. And Erwin is explaining some of his logic and reasoning to Levi at this point, probably.
Yeah.
And so we see the hooded person do the smoke, and then they drop the gun, and that's how they're like, the animators are intentionally drawing your attention to, okay, wait, what? You just dropped the something's going on here
in the great forest. How dare you?
And yeah, right. And then Erwin says, we need to be cautious here. And they're like, well, wait, why? Like the person we tried to capture is a failure. Like they've been eaten. He says,
was it Hanji, right?
I think it's Hanji. Yeah, he's explained to Hanji that's who he is. And he says the female Titan was eaten, but did you see the person inside get eaten? I didn't. And he says to Hanji, you deduced that the person who's inside the Titan is viable after they've detransformed. They're still able-bodied after they've detransformed. And if that's the case, then if this person was previously equipped ahead of time, if they were equipped ahead of time with ODM gear in advance, that means that they're now wearing one of our uniforms. And then as he's kind of saying this, something like cuts back to hooded figure that we don't see the face of.
And we know that this hooded figure, if it's the same person who killed Sonny and Bean, knows how to use ODM gear pretty well.
Correct. And then so soldiers are retreating. Now there's a mass of people all in scout uniform, all leaving, and we see hooded figure kind of doing the ODM gear thing. And I can't remember which dude it is.
Gunther.
I can't remember. It is Gunther. That's right. We see Gunther go, "Oh, Captain Levi? Wait, no. Who are you?" And Gunther gets freaking murked with the blades that are meant for Titans. He gets freaking slashed.
How sad a day it is when blades meant for Titans are used on human flesh.
Correct. And then Aaron sees this and is like, what the heck is going on? And he goes to rush to the side of this of Gunther, who's just been killed. And then we get the last line from Erwin. He says, they're now wearing one of our uniforms. So that's where he leaves off. They're now wearing one of our uniforms. And that means they have blended in with the rest of the soldiers.
The hunt is still on.
To be continued. And then they drop it.
People are most dangerous when they're cornered, when they're at the end of their hunt. So this is definitely a really intense scene because you're like, I need to find out what's going to happen immediately. I think we watched like 8 of these episodes all in a row when we first watched it because we had to find out. Really good.
So
really intriguing.
So we've got a bunch of spoilers coming up. I want to get into those, leave some time for that.
Indubitably.
Make sure you join us on the journey. If you are watching this on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you subscribe and like and all that good jazz. And if you want to listen to this as a podcast, it's available on Spotify and iTunes and Google and all the places that you get them, and vice versa. If you're listening to this audio and you would like to watch, you can do that. We actually also are going to be, we have already published some special content, but we're going to be producing some shorter form 5 or 10 minute deals for YouTube. I'll probably put it on Facebook as well. I don't see why not. But you're going to want to watch those, and they're not going to be available on podcast form, so you're going to want to go find those over on youtube.com/beyondthebasementpodcast or facebook.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. You can catch us live most of the time on Sunday nights. Today's a Saturday. And then, of course, once Season 4 drops, you will find us broadcasting live the day that probably the night.
As soon as we can.
As soon as we can. We're planning for the day of. Before it was Sunday nights, which is why we do Sunday nights now. But we're planning hopefully for a Sunday release, and then we watch it, and then we'll do our live reactions when that happens. So October, it seems like we've got a confirmation. We were suspecting delays, but the most recent news actually
that's what it looks like.
Says it's going to be on time for October of 2020. So we're looking forward to that.
Yes. And thanks for your comments, your feedback, and your emails. You can email us at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. comment on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. Appreciate the feedback. We're working to get better and trying to incorporate some of the requests you guys have made. So
yes,
appreciate that. We are in this as cadets all together.
Email us, leave comments. Also email us if you've got theories and stuff you want to say. Email us beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com.
Indubitably.
There you go. All right, so this is your warning. We're going to jump into the spoiler section. If you do not want to know what comes next and how this episode connects to future ones, you're going to want to turn your phone off or at least pause this podcast. And you can come back. Don't worry. We're going to put together a whole string of all the spoiler sections of the episodes. If you want to come back and re-enjoy these, you can. But for now, if you're like us and you don't want people spoiling your crap, turn your junk off. Pull your phone out of your pocket. Pause it.
We care.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Spoilers! Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Spoilers. Spoilers.
It's just so hot in this room. I don't know what
it's
else
the lights,
to do.
the computer, and the heat.
It's because
the
the
passion.
spoilers are just on
Dude,
point.
that's right. The spoilers are boiling inside of your blood.
Boiling.
Okay, so it's Annie. I could say that now.
It is friggin' Annie, and she knows what she did, and we're still mad about it. I don't care how long you spend in a crystal coma. When you come out, you're getting a whooping.
Yeah, seriously. I hope that's what happens. Also, just this is a cool side story, spoiler story. So we actually had to make 2 attempts tonight at both the stream and at recording the podcast because when I went to do the recap, the first thing out of my mouth was Annie. Like, totally gave away who the female Titan is, and I did not mean to do that.
Literally said Soylent Green's people at the beginning of the movie.
So we had to restart.
It's great.
Anyway, so spoiler, it's Annie, and she freaking sucks. And
and
I'm
she's
really
crafty,
mad.
and she's smart, and she's a good soldier, and that is terrible.
So I guess this isn't too much of a spoiler, but I just want to throw this out there. The Connie, when they're cutting to the soldiers the first time, like the different scouts on the outside of the forest, Connie says, "I want to go home." And it's so sad because when Connie actually does go home,
it's not happy.
His mom is there, and this is another one of those like big hint, like, oh, what? It's like it looks like his mother, and it actually says like, I can't remember what she says.
Welcome
she says,
home.
Yeah,
or
welcome home.
Like
It's just like 2 words to him, and it's clearly like his mom. And even when I saw that, I was like, wait. So somebody took the people in the village and transformed them into Titans, and that's when I made the discovery. Like, wait, so all dumb Titans used to be people.
Yep.
And anyway, there's your spoiler.
Pretty
for that
crazy. One. The other thing is when they're going around the outside and they're checking with everybody, Reiner has a specific line where he says, "I don't remember them bringing cannons."
Yeah, because
on this journey. Because we didn't tell you, Reiner, because we knew they were freaking spies, and we want to freaking find the spies and kill them, and we hid the supplies, just the cannons in the supply bin.
This is Erwin outsmarting the enemy right here.
That's right.
This is Erwin going, okay, I know that this is why he kept it a secret and like all this stuff because he's trying to throw him off, and this is like Reiner confirming that.
And Bertolt and Reiner are like, I don't like the sound of that cannon fire in there.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like that was good. And
like
maybe this was all a trap. I'm sure they really wanted to just, I better go check to see if they need help.
That's what's happening in front of Reiner and Bertolt right now. And like Reiner has like the sweat mark like this entire episode.
Yeah.
But in front of them, the other scouts are talking, going, oh, wow, maybe this was the plan all along to like capture her and all this stuff. And they're like, oh, frack. Like,
we got outsmarted.
Yeah.
I hope Annie is a gun. And she's a gun. She's a gun.
Okay. Other quick spoiler I want to highlight. Super, like, we're talking about kind of all the like writing the end at the beginning and then putting the little breadcrumbs in there. Ymir is like, do you remember where Krista is?
Yeah.
He's just curious. Like, just
we get it, Ymir. We get it.
We get it. You're a weird freak, and it's fine. It's fine. Let's see. The line
the
that
steam.
Well, I was gonna say the line that he did before we get to that. The line that the Armin says, this means they can learn.
Oh yeah, that was killer.
I didn't remember that at all. We watched this and I was like, wait, he says that now? And it's interesting because like even throughout the rest of the seasons, we're like, no, dumb Titans are dumb, but like
they can learn. They
can learn, and he actually says that. The line he says I didn't bring up, he says, well, some of them are different than others, meaning like they are clearly like just like real people. Have kind of different levels of like ability and physical ability and mental ability and all that stuff.
Yeah, and also we are going to go to do those OVA episodes, in between season episodes, and one of them
episodes or whatever
is another talking Titan. and
Dang.
is a big deal. And so we can see that maybe we could communicate. Maybe there is some kind of primal communication that could happen. Maybe there's some learning that could happen. And I don't know how this is all going to wrap up. Maybe the manga readers all probably know. No spoilers, please. But the idea is, maybe we could win the war against Marley. Maybe we could set all Eldians free.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there could be peace and justice and happiness and righteousness in the land once and all. But that doesn't change all the dumb Titans that have been turned.
I was just thinking this exact thing.
Back.
I was like, I really hope that at the end, like, it's definitely a very fairy tale way of looking at it. But certainly the hope is that Eren or Historia or somebody can, in the end, redeem all of the Eldian people who are dumb Titans roaming around.
Right, all
that
the
would be
wrongs.
great. And the reason I like that idea so much, the reason I want that to happen is A, because I want justice, but B, because like Ymir, like they could have been wandering out there for like hundreds of years, however long since they've been injected, they've been alive that whole time, and they could tell us some stuff about what was going on back in the day because all the memories have been wiped and stuff.
What if in season 4, pretty early on, either Eren figures out a hidden Titan ability where he can
de-transform them,
or
at least communicate.
Yeah, because we see that tree where they're all interconnected. Maybe he can communicate with them and like figure out their memories, and he can set them free or something like that. Or Hanji and Armin discover some, because of Annie, crystal way of like figuring out how to dissolve the Titan skin or something like that, and maybe rescue the person inside, and they can start communicating with people. Hey, what was life like in Marley 60 years ago when you did this? Oh, there's a weakness there. And they can start like recruiting an army, and maybe that's the army that helps them fight.
So they basically get like, because that was kind of the theory. This is still my going theory, is that it probably it's between Eren and Historia. At the end of season 3, Eren's like, oh, whoa, what the frick? When I touch Historia, I like get like Titan memories. I think that that is how the strategy gets formed for what happens next. Yeah. Is that Eren actually starts to get more access to his like Titan memory stuff and starts to go, oh, like he's realized more of how Titan shifters work and probably what's going on over in Marley. Like basically they use that to like form their strategy.
It looks like seasons 1 through 3 were, Eren being Neo in the first movie. In the first Matrix.
Which, tell me that doesn't mean Matrix 2 and 3, because they weren't as good as the first one.
But season 4 could be just the power level. He goes from like, I can maybe beat an agent, and I can maybe do some kung fu. In the end, he's like, oh, I can stop bullets. And then like the second movie, he's like flying and controlling things with his mind. I'm like, that's a major level up, right?
True. Okay.
It looks like Eren's leveled up. He's unlocked some serious power. So hopefully he's got some more connection to his memories. He can bring some healing and unity, but we'll see. It looks like he just wants to cause rampage, and I'm okay with that for now.
Yeah. Little rampages could be a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were gonna bring up the steam.
Yeah. So when Erwin sees the steam that is dissipating and kind of shrouding Annie's escape, which we always were like, how did she escape? They're right there. But they say it.
We said it right as we were watching. So it was like, wait, so how did she get away? It's like, the steam impaired visibility. She was able to get away.
Yeah, and she's got her ODM gear, and she's talented.
And when Erwin realizes that, I intentionally did not call this out. I was like, this is almost too much of a spoiler. In this episode, Erwin goes, the steam. And there's a super fast cut of him remembering the Colossal Titan. And like, if you're just watching this, you wouldn't make the connection. I didn't make the connection. I think most people would not make the connection because it's such a short clip of the Colossal Titan, and they also don't particularly highlight the steam part. Yeah. They just show him.
Dissipates, right? When Eren's about to hit him, and in the very first time,
the steam hides his
detransformation. He's able to somehow get in the walls or hide somewhere. So yeah, it's definitely a tandem ability. It was very coordinated, their attack, and that steam hid their entry, which was pretty genius. And he's seen this trick used before, and she's going to use it now to get away.
I'm going to ask this open question, because legitimately, I feel like I don't, as well written as this all is, I actually am not super satisfied with how exactly does Erwin have his hunch that it's that there is not only other Titan shifters that I can understand. So there's certain things I can understand how he knows, or how he can at least assume there are that the Colossal Titan / Armor Titan were like Eren, that they're shifters.
Yep.
I understand that. How does he get to... Is it the Sonny and Bean assassination? Like, how does he get to all of the deductions thereafter?
There's someone in our scout unit.
That not only is it possible for these other people, but they're actually intermits. Not only are they intermits, but they're in the military. But not only are they in the military, they're actually in the scouts. And not only are they in the scouts, but if we take Eren, they're after Eren. What they're actually after is Eren himself.
Yeah, the whole thing was a mole hunt.
Yeah, it was a mole hunt, but how did he know to use Eren as bait? That part specifically bugs me. I'm like, what was it about? Like, it's just a hunch? I mean, it's pretty...
Well, okay, there are some signs. Let's just talk it out real quick for our friends, okay? Sign one is that the attack, we were expecting the Armored Titan to show up after the second wall was kicked in.
And he didn't.
And what was different about the first time and second time? Eren.
Right.
So that could tell us that they stopped their attack.
They changed plans.
They changed plans because they got new information. New information was Eren. Yeah. So they want Eren. It did surprise me that they didn't right there when they first saw Eren doing that and they saw him emerge out. Remember?
They didn't just grab him.
They didn't just say like, screw our cover, we're going to grab this guy and go. They like, oh, sure, we'll go down with you, John.
They were
and
surrounded
Mikasa.
by Titans and a long way to go.
Yeah,
So maybe
I guess
it wasn't
you're right.
an opportune time.
But they... yeah, there is that. So maybe that's what I'm not sure he knows 100% that they were in the scout regiment unit. But I think he's saying, I'm going to do a test to make sure there's nobody in my unit who I can't trust.
Sure. And then the plan is...
And if it came back clean...
Right, then we're good.
And then we'll test the garrison.
But if somebody doesn't come back clean, somebody tries to like pull something.
And there was abnormals, there was people being attacked. There was too many Titans, right? And so... they were able to lure that person in. So things worked just as they said. Maybe they didn't know the full extent. Maybe they only knew some, but he's pretty smart. We are going to find out more because we know that someone killed Sonny and Bean, which means there is a spy within the area. And I guess...
the fact that it's... So Armin is the one who determines that it's Annie. But the fact that it was somebody in the scouts who killed them is pretty evident. Because they said somebody used ODM gear.
Yeah, skillful. And
so it has to
garrison units do use ODM gear, but not nearly as skillfully.
But garrison units weren't in the vicinity. The people who were guarding Sonny and Bean were all scouts.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So that would narrow it down.
So unless somebody came in undetected, it would have been a scout.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But technically, Annie is not a scout. She's an interior police officer. So he was wrong.
Whoa.
Right.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
I don't think they could have expected her to come, but the fact that she trained with everybody and was a cadet.
She was at least a former, she was a cadet, which is how she knows the stuff.
So it all worked out.
Another cool spoiler is actually, this episode actually had a lot. Another cool spoiler is the Armin and Erwin connection. I hadn't picked up on this before, but at the beginning of the episode, Armin says, you have to be willing to make, like, basically to be a great leader, to like really get changed on. You have to be willing to abandon something. You have to be willing to abandon your humanity, be willing to abandon something. And then at the end of the episode, Erwin is saying, I'm impressed that my enemy was willing to abandon everything, was willing to give up everything to do this. And there's this language specific word connection between Armin and Erwin, which, makes me feel a little better that there's this almost spiritual connection between the two.
It's true.
He's like the distant son.
Think about it. Erwin first lays down his arm, sacrifices for, continue on, keep fighting, which is
season 2,
super awesome, episode. And then he lays down his life, and so does Armin. They both lay their lives down. Armin, so Eren could continue and could, win the battle.
Yeah.
And Erwin lays his life down because he's laid down all of his soldiers. And this kind of goes back to the episode in season 3 where he's saying, I've become the monster. And everyone's like, oh, he's a monster. He's killed so many soldiers. And he's like, yeah, I finally want to die. I finally want to have rest. And the soldier's like, no, resurrect him. He doesn't deserve rest. He's killed so many soldiers. And it comes back to this quote. You have to like rise above the monsters by doing terrible things.
Yeah.
And not to say that we do wicked things, it's to say that we do things that are very hard.
You make difficult decisions. It's funny you're saying this. This is literally, I've already brought this up twice, but this is the exact podcast I was listening to today about what was going on in the Cold War.
Eric's apparently a big Cold War fan. We get it.
Apparently. But this is what our various specifically in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, like our presidents, our generals, these guys were having to make the level of moral predicament that they're in the show is literally the level of moral predicament that they were in, with Japan and trying to end World War II, and with, Korea, and like, do we actually go into another like shooting war 5 years after World War II? Like, it was the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, they're having to make this like incredibly difficult decision, but it is the right thing. Like, ultimately it ends up being the right thing because it saves the most amount of lives. It actually is like the correct decision in terms of history. But in the moment,
so hard
to decide to go into, think about it. The Koreans, they call it the Forgotten War because people just never talk about it. But World War II happens, like the worst thing ever. You still to this day, you could call it the worst thing ever. You're having a bad day, like just remember, World War II was a thing. After 5 years after that, or we're within like less than a decade later, you have to try and convince the American people to go back into another shooting war, and like this is the 50s, like late 40s, like in Asia, like we don't know anything about like Asia, like where is Korea on a map even?
Let's just stay here and rebuild and be prosperous and
like
peaceful.
With all the context, you're like, oh no, for sure that's the right decision. And now with hindsight, you're like, look at South Korea. We saved all those people. Yeah, they exist, and they're this free, prosperous country. And like, it is unfortunate that North Korea didn't go with whatever.
Esports
but like,
is a thing now.
Yeah, esports is the thing, exactly.
Because
like
of the
you have
Korean
professional
War.
League of Legends players and so on, because 70 plus years ago, MacArthur and Ike and all these guys were like, we have to do this.
We got to do it.
Yeah, we have to do this. We're the UN. Everybody was on board. They're like, we don't want to, but
the thing is too, like, yeah, most Americans may have called the Forgotten War, but all the Koreans I know know their history.
It's the war
and
for them.
They like love America because guess what? They're free because of America, and that's pretty cool. And so what you're saying about this moral conundrum, like, hey, we have to make really hard decisions. We don't make wicked decisions. We don't turn into bad people to beat our enemy, but we have to make hard decisions. Yeah,
but you do make, exactly. It's not I'm choosing to now be wicked or stoop to the level of my enemy, because in the same episode, he talks about the moral difference between like the presidents of the United States who during the Cold War, and like Stalin and his various guys who, like, his top, like the top general. He tells a story about one of the like top like generals. I can't remember, is it Burundi or Burinda, something like that. He like raped and murdered like hundreds of women. So he would snatch them off the streets of Moscow. He would have his guys go out and snatch them off the streets of Moscow and bring them into his like manor, his like mansion thing, and like rape them and sometimes kill them. But if he didn't kill them, he would send them back to their homes in the little paddy wagon thing and give them like a gift, like a bouquet of flowers. Like, we're talking twisted, and like that's evil on like a whole nother level. And he's like, and then one of the top American generals at the exact same time was found to be in a consensual affair with like a Secretary of Homeland Defense or something like that, which is a bad thing, and that's corrupt too.
Yeah.
But these are two totally different kinds of like corrupt, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, so he kind of brings it up. He's like, you have to think about like the system that brings him up. And anyway, that we've talked about this between the trailer too, like between Marley and Paradise.
Yeah.
Like, the Marleyans are sending children into battle.
Yeah.
That's fundamentally different than Erwin saying we have to sacrifice 100 comrades to
willing
save
soldiers to protect everybody.
Right. And that's what these soldiers signed up for. Like, yeah. Anyway, whole podcast just in that conundrum there. There was one other spoiler I wanted to get to. I don't know. All I know is the battle between Annie and Aaron coming up is one of my favorites. And like Mikasa and Aaron coming in
and when he finally lands like a haymaker on her, I'm like, oh,
feels good. Feels good.
Thank you,
man.
please. And a couple more.
Oh no, we already talked about that. Okay, go ahead.
There was something I was going to jump to about our going theory about the upcoming season, but I don't remember it. The Titan Scream ability, where Annie screams and she can summon Titans to attack her, which is really interesting. We still don't know the depth of that. Is that because she has royal blood, or is that just because some Titans just possess the Titan Scream ability where you can scream and Titans want to come eat you? Can you sick them on people? Can you tell them certain things what to do?
Yeah. Well, Aaron sicks them on people.
He has the coordinate, and when he touches the royal blood, he can control the Titans to some degree. We see Zeke, War Chief Zeke.
He talks to them.
He tells them stop.
He tells
don't
them
do
what
that.
to do.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Verbally.
And
Aaron doesn't have to speak though. That's a whole different level. If you ask me, they're similar, but Aaron's is more powerful.
Yeah. But Annie can summon them to attack her. She can turn normal Titans into abnormal Titans because she's influencing them somehow. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yes. There's going to be some final wrap up on the ability to control memories and control minds.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a connection there.
Yeah.
I'm forecasting that. I don't know specifics.
We'll see.
The last thing we talked about during this episode was Erwin brings up the fact that if this person had pre-equipped ODM gear, that they would have it on. They'd have the uniform on. And we're talking about that. And say the Incredible Hulk or other shows where people transform, they bust open their clothes, right?
And they're naked afterwards.
And I was like, that actually never happens in this show, which is convenient, but for ratings sake. But it never happens in the show because the Titan, in Aaron's case and all the shifters' case, the Titan forms around them in this almost kind of suit. It doesn't come out of them. It forms from inside around
to
them.
Push everything out. It encloses them. So hypothetically, you could bring your ODM gear. You could bring your cloak. You can bring your bag of chips. You can bring your PS4, whatever you need. Turn into a Titan, and it's all going to be right there.
It's all there with you. So
Titans make really good looters.
Yeah. Because they can steam away, too.
Yeah, that's good.
You can just cover their jacks.
Peaceful
protesters. So the other thing is at the end of this episode, the hooded figure, again, I've just been long enough since I watched this, I forgot that there even was a mysterious hooded figure. It's Annie. She's clever enough to have the green smoke. This is getting me hyped for season 4 because we have that shot in the trailer of her and the crystal and Armin there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can turn Annie. I don't know if you can turn her. But what you can do is have somebody eat her. You got Titan fluid laying around.
Let's let Hanji.
You get Hanji. You get somebody friggin' stick around.
Who else is still alive? Connie? Connie could do it. John could do it.
Her Titan power is a fighting, athletic kind of power.
Hanji, man.
And this is we're still working out the presumption that Ackermans can't have it because I would give it to Mikasa in a heartbeat.
Maybe Mikasa.
Maybe she
doesn't need it though.
She doesn't need it.
Levi and her don't need it.
They don't, which is why I think they won't.
Could they be OP? Could they just be big Greg? Could you make an ODM gear large enough?
That's what I was just thinking. Because they put machine guns on the back of the quadruped, whatever.
Yeah. Man, a 16-story Levi zipping around an ODM gear.
Ridiculous.
OP. Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, I think that's it. Right? I think that's it. All right, it's a long spoiler section, but there's a lot in this episode. Thanks again for watching.
Sticking with us.
Again, shoot us an email, beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com, and find us on YouTube and Facebook, and get freaking psyched for season 4.
Hype.
Let's go. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you next time.
God bless.
Thanks again for watching and listening. If you're enjoying the show, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. If you're really loving it and you want some extra cool content, you can join our Patreon page over at patreon.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. Check the show notes or our social media pages for links to some really rad Attack on Titan merch. All right, guys. See you next time.